We've talked about Luke, we've talked about Din Djarin and Boba Fett, but we did not talk really about how Bib Fortuna survived Return of the Jedi and went on to become one of the most powerful men on Tatooine, as we saw in the Mandalorian Season 2 finale. In fact, it was during the post-credit scene where Boba Fett enters Jabba's palace only to find a fat Bib Fortuna trying to worm his way out of Boba Fett's blaster pointed at him. It didn't work, of course. Boba Fett, with one single shot, became the ruler of Tatooine, and practically, if you think about it, Boba the Hutt. Will that name stick? Well, it remains to be seen. Becoming as fat as Jabba comes with a position, of course. That comes with the comfortability of being the ruler that Jabba was, or at least trying to emulate him as much as possible. So how did Bib Fortuna take over the throne of Jabba and eventually became fat? To figure out how Bib Fortuna made it to the Mandalorian timeline, we might have to go to Legends continuity, because that's where the Twi'lek is revealed to have survived the fall of Jabba's palace and made it through Jabba's death as well, finding himself in a similar situation in Legends as well, picking up after his master. The only difference is that Bib Fortuna's destiny was even more bizarre than what actually happened in The Mandalorian. To explain what happened to Bib Fortuna, let's go to the 1996 Star Wars Legends novel now, which is Tales from Jabba's Palace. It is an anthology of short stories that were centered around Jabba's palace, and as anthologies do, they were designed to give minor stories a bigger background and a grander story, something that they could not do in the movies. There is a certain story in there titled Of the Day's Annoyances, Bib Fortuna's Tale. In there, it outlines how Bib Fortuna survived what should have been his demise. It turns out that the moment that things started going bad, Bib Fortuna ran away. He took a skiff of pleasure barge and sped off. He never looked back, knowing that there would be others who would be going after Jabba's fortunes. In fact, Bib Fortuna went as far as to fight his way to hoard all of Jabba's treasures for himself, as he foresaw what was coming. This is where the weird starts. During Bib Fortuna's adventures, Bib Fortuna practically inherited Jabba's treasures, but he also found monks that Jabba kept in his basement. These are the infamous Bomar monks, who were monks that ritualistically extracted their brains and placed them inside of a droid. They ultimately wandered up once Bib Fortuna took over the palace. This might have been a sign that Jabba was not in power anymore, which might mean that Jabba from time to time would visit them. Since Jabba did not visit the Bomar monks, now they came up. Once they realized that now Bib Fortuna is in power, they forcibly perform the same brain transplant procedure to Bib Fortuna 2. They extract his brain from his skull and insert it into a droid. Later, you can also see Bib Fortuna in the X-Wing Rogue Squadron comics, luring a Twi'lek to Tatooine. This Twi'lek was Firith Olan, and Olan intended on stealing Jabba's treasure as well, while also finding a vast array of ships, some of which were TIE fighters. After Rogue Squadron arrived, fighting Olan, Bib Fortuna took advantage of Olan at his most vulnerable, ordering the Bomar monks to place his brain inside Olan's body. From that point on, Bib Fortuna had access to both Olan's and Jabba's resources and managed to rebuild the Hutt's empire all from scratch and with even more resources. So as you can see, Legends is weird to say the least, and therein lies the truth a bit. It is too bizarre to present in canon, although Disney is not holding back in the slightest. While Bib Fortuna survived in Legends by skeeving and running away, and very apparent betrayals as well, you can assume that, it's fair to assume that he survived the same way in canon too. At least that's what we can pick up by the short amount of time we saw him in The Mandalorian 2. Return of the Jedi did not mince words when it presented Luke Skywalker to Bib Fortuna's character. He is basically a cowardly opportunist, leaving no doubt that the moment Jabba was killed by Leia, he ran for his life, taking a skiff off the barge and assuming command of his master's fragmented criminal enterprise. It's uncertain if anyone even contested Bib Fortuna's rule of Jabba's palace and Jabba's resources, with Luke crushing Jabba's remains into the sand and the instability following the fall of the Empire altogether. The events in Return of the Jedi practically made Bib Fortuna a very powerful and rich man. because of the instability, because of the craziness and the chaos during that time, Bib Fortuna might have slipped by. It's hard to believe that Bib Fortuna slipped so far under the radar, but considering how it only took 2 people to eradicate all of Bib Fortuna's guards, and basically with one gunshot Boba Fett became the sole ruler, you can see that Bib Fortuna might not have had a hard time himself of grabbing as much power as he could. Which leads us to what Bib Fortuna said to Boba Fett. He was basically trying to worm his way out of getting killed by Boba Fett because he knew he was in danger, not because all of his guards just died. But something else was going on. Boba Fett knew something that Bib Fortuna knew as well. Something to do with betrayal, perhaps? The last thing Bib Fortuna basically says to Boba Fett is that he has heard rumors that he is alive. He is glad to see him. Why Boba doesn't even give him a chance to talk, why Boba doesn't even relent for 1 second and shoots him down completely, is that he knows how Bib Fortuna got here. He not only betrayed Jabba, but he might have betrayed Boba Fett as well. You see, those rumors that Bib Fortuna is talking about might indicate that once Bib Fortuna found out Boba Fett was alive and survived the Sarlacc pit, this might give us a clue that Bib Fortuna sent out bounty hunters all across Tatooine searching for Boba Fett in order to kill him, because Bib Fortuna knew Boba was his ultimate enemy. Boba would one day come back and kill him for the throne. Hence, Boba Fett's reluctance to talk to Bib Fortuna. Bib Fortuna had tried to kill him so many times that Boba Fett was just done with. One day he knew he would get back his armor and kill Fortuna once and for all. Now things start to come together in canon. While we don't know a lot about his past and how he came to be the ruler, it's safe to assume, as it has happened many times before, that the minor legend stories are true in canon as well. So far, we have no indication to disbelieve that. I'm thinking part of his legends lore is true in canon too, as to how he became the ruler of Tatooine after Jabba the Hutt. But of course, leave your thoughts as well down below in the comments, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you can have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.